Welcome to Talk with CK, your cozy corner for heartfelt conversation. I am CK, and in this space, we explore the beautiful, messy, and inspiring journey of growing up. Each week, I sit down with someone special as we share story about the struggle that shaped us, the lessons that change us, and the small moment of pride that made us who we are today. It's been quite a setup to reconnect with my guests today. I know most of my guests, and no, I've never met any of the previous guests, but we have online interaction. But the guest today, I have absolutely no idea, but our path has crossed very intricately this few days. Let me introduce you to my new friend, Brent. Hi, Brent.
Hey, hello, good
You're
morning.
here after a moment there of setup and everything.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, and thank you for coming up to my podcast and talking with
Absolutely.
CK. Thank you so
Happy to
much.
be here.
Thank you, thank you. This was set up quite spontaneously, I would say.
Yes.
I didn't have any plans, but things have happened this few days for you. How are you feeling, by the way?
I'm doing fantastic, doing fantastic.
So you are from Illinois, right? The state of Illinois.
Yes. Yes, I was born in Illinois and I currently have a home in Missouri right across the border from Illinois.
And this is the very south side of Illinois, nowhere near Chicago, right?
No, it's about 5-hour drive from Chicago.
And how is it like growing up in Illinois, in that part of Illinois, those
You
days?
know, it was great. Southern Illinois is really just it's the heartland of the United States. So I was
Mm.
raised in a very small town. And
Mm.
after my primary, secondary, and high school, I moved to the larger city of St. Louis, and that's really been my home. I for the last 40 something.
I've never been to Illinois, and so has many
Uh-huh.
people. Tell us what's it's like there. Is it
Yeah,
hilly,
yeah,
cold? What is like there?
sure. We have 4 seasons. Winters are absolutely brutal. We
Oh.
will get a foot to maybe a meter of snow in a hard winter. Summers are hot, so it's an agricultural region. So it's rather flat. We're close to the Shawnee National Forest. So there are some small hills and mountains, but it's mostly flat and it's an agricultural region. In fact, the biggest employer when I was growing up was coal mines. So there's
Ah.
a lot of coal mines. My father retired from the working in the coal mine industry. But it's a very rural area and a wonderful part of the United States.
Right. And so it's blue collar, small
Yes,
community, very
that's right.
tight knit, very working class. And
Absolutely.
what would you say to people who have never been there? Like, Christmas must be very beautiful.
Everyone knows everyone. It was a very small town. My town is similar to a lot of small towns anywhere in the world, even like Malaysia. So I would consider my
Mm.
small town to be like a small town like Kuala Pilah, which it's everyone knows everyone. It's a very close-knit community. It's very rural, but it's a wonderful place to grow up. And I always say it's a great place to be from. It's not somewhere I wanted to live as an adult, but I absolutely enjoy revisiting and spending time with old classmates and school friends.
That's really nice to hear. Someone that's very proud of his hometown. I mean,
Absolutely.
I see kids growing up these days and they have all those modern gadgets, but they will never have what we have, Brent.
That's
They
right.
will never
Exactly.
the nature where we used to roam for free. Remember those days? And I remember in
Yes.
Georgetown, I don't even come home until the sun
Yeah.
set, and nobody
Yeah,
questioned you where
exactly.
you went. And now,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so different. You wouldn't let your grandchildren roam by
No,
himself in the open.
exactly. That's
What do you
right.
think? What do you think
Yeah.
happens? I mean, what do you think
You know,
happened? Like, is the
I
world
I
really
think
that scary, or is it like,
yeah, I think the pace of life has changed completely. I remember as a child, like you said, I would just hop on our bike. Me and my brother would ride into town. We would be gone all day long and then come back. We lived near the woods, so I spent a lot of time in nature. And the world was just it just seemed like it was a slower paced time, and there just wasn't as much. And it could be that the world is not any more dangerous. It may be that technology has brought the information more readily available, but it certainly was a different time.
Yeah, I just had dinner with my sister-in-law the other day, and her daughter is my niece is I would say she's 17 now, and
Uh-huh.
she wanted to stay over at her friend's place, and her mom say the only people I'll let you stay over are people from the church. Other than
Uh-huh.
that, I'm not going to let you stay in another person's house that I absolutely have no idea. I mean, she's right in that way,
Yes.
but
Yes.
she's right. I mean, she
Yes.
has the yeah, but I mean, I don't need to stay over at my because I've already spent the whole day out roaming by,
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
ourselves those
Exactly.
days.
Exactly. Yes.
So I felt a little bit sad for my niece. But then again, I
Yeah.
thought back that, well, if she was my daughter, I'd probably say the same thing. I mean,
Yes.
we would be, I don't know. I watch a lot of crime story also,
Sure.
but you practically have to know everyone in the house before you let your daughter or even your son stay over these
Yes,
days.
that's right. And, we never even locked our doors. I mean, the doors were they were never locked. It
Mm.
was just a different time. And of course, I was very involved in our church, which was growing up in a small town. I think we had a church on every corner of that little town. And so
Mm.
everyone was very active in the church. And you don't see that as much anymore, I think. That's also a part
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Well, times have really, really changed. It's really a huge not
Yes.
topic. But the topic I want to talk to you about, you are obsessed with Malaysia, my country. Well, I wouldn't say
Yes.
obsessed, but you have a very lovely story where you meet your wife, and your wife
Yes.
went to study in the Midwest. There's
Yes, that's right.
first of all, there's not a lot of us, It's not like we're everywhere. And you
Yeah.
managed to meet a Malaysian over there. So tell me that
Yes.
story.
Well, sure. My wife, she grew up in Kuala Pilah, Malaysia, and when she was 17, almost turning 18, she was accepted into university in the United States. So she attended a Kansas University, which is in Lawrence, Kansas, and that's probably about 4 hours by car from where I was living in St. Louis. And so after university, yes, go ahead.
She went to where again? In Kansas?
K yeah, KU, which is Kansas
Kansas
University.
University.
Yes,
That's a long way from Kuala Pilah, like,
it certainly is. But,
and
her brother attended there.
Kansas.
Yeah,
Her brother was there first.
yeah, her brother, her sister-in-law, her other brother,
Right.
my nephew, my niece. We have an extended family that have all attended Kansas University.
My first guess is someone who went to university in Missouri. He's from Penang, and he's still there. He's still there.
Uh-huh.
So I had an interview with them. It must be, I told
Yeah,
him it must be a very brave thing to flew all the way there. Like, this is not LA.
it's
It's
amazing.
not
Yeah,
New York. It's not Miami. It's like,
right.
yeah. So you met, sorry, go on with the story. How did you
No,
meet her?
no, no, I agree with you. It had to be incredibly, both culturally and as an 18-year-old
At
simply being
18, yes.
planted. Yeah, and just starting in Kansas. So she graduated there, came to St. Louis to accept a position at Washington University. And I met her after her university studies, and we were both art collectors. She was attending an art auction, and I was attending an art
Oh.
auction. And that's actually how we met. We actually were bidding against each other on a piece of art. So I lost out on the art piece, but I gained a wife.
Wait, take us back to this. This is the juicy part I want to know. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were both bidding on the same thing. Do you still remember what that
yes.
item was?
Yeah, it was a Japanese antique, probably a cloisonne. I was a prolific collector of Japanese
Oh,
art and Chinese art at the time,
wow.
and she had an
Huh.
interest in art. So she was attending, and in the room where you raise your paddle and you're bidding, I saw this Chinese lady, which I didn't know who she was. She was bidding against me, and she kept bidding. I kept bidding. She would bid. I would bid, and ultimately she won the item. But we struck up a conversation, and the rest is history. And after a year or two, we were married, and I took my first trip back to Malaysia.
That is such a beautiful story. I
Yeah.
hope you still have that item. Oh, she had it.
Well, exactly.
Did she still have it?
No, actually, I was a dealer. Pieces come and go, and I've
Ah,
bought and sold thousands of pieces since then. But my first trip to Malaysia was instigated by that relationship because I had to go
right.
back and meet her and meet her father. So
Uh-huh.
in 1999, maybe early 2000 was my first
Okay.
trip to Malaysia.
And tell me, before you went to Malaysia, what have you heard from your wife? And then later on, you found out that okay, well, it's not exactly like that, or do you have a preconception mind of what this place is?
Yeah, I had been to Asia a couple of times, but I had never
Okay.
been to Southeast Asia. And
Mm,
so she tried to explain to me what Malaysia was like. I think the first thing she said was, it is incredibly hot. And so we talked about the weather. She would give me stories about growing up in Kuala Pilah. So I had
mm.
a little bit of an idea of what the country was like or what the region was like. But frankly, nothing could prepare me for that first trip when I stepped off the plane at Kuala Lumpur at the airport.
Okay. So what was the surprising part? To be
Well,
honest,
I mean,
Malaysia
yeah,
is as orderly, I mean, comparing to the Philippines, to Vietnam, to Thailand.
yeah,
I mean, comparing to these neighbors, we're
yes,
quite westernized, and we're
yes.
quite, yeah. Tell me anyway.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I did find that out later, but I landed in KL, and the first thing I remember is the oppressive heat just hitting me in the face.
Mm.
The temperature was quite hot. KL was a fantastic city. I spent the first night in KL, and I was really blown away by this metropolis that was just buzzing with activity. I mean, it was I had spent a lot of time in the Bay Area, New York City. I mean, Kuala Lumpur can stand up to New York, Manhattan, Chicago, any major Paris, London, any major metropolitan city anywhere in the world. So landing in KL was not as big of a culture shock to me as getting out into the rural area as we drove into Kuala Lumpur. That was quite different. I think it was the first time I had seen a traffic jam of some water buffalo coming by the road as we were driving down just outside of Kuala Pilah. And, I saw some monkeys by the road. And I remember the first time driving there, I saw this huge monitor lizard, and I thought, this is not Kansas anymore. So it
Well,
was
you're the
quite
one to say it
interesting.
from Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it was really
Well,
interesting. We got to KL.
I'm glad you had the chance to see Malaysia, and I'm glad
Yes.
that you married because you married a Malaysian wife. And
Yes.
from all your experience of discovering this country, what do you think makes Malaysia unique?
I personally, and everything comes from, of course, my perspective. We're all a product of our experiences. And over the last 25 years, what stands out the most to me are the people. I mean, it's not the food, it's not the weather, it's not the beautiful views, it's not the tropical fruit. If somebody were to ask me what's one thing that stands out to me, it's the people. I think down to a person, I have found Malaysian people, and in fact, the entire culture, because Malaysia is a very unique culture. If you look at other Asian countries, they are homogenistic. You look at China, it's very homogenous. Most other countries are very homogenous, whereas in Malaysia, it's truly a multicultural, unique situation with the indigenous Malay, the Chinese, the Indian, the Western influence. You've got Thai influence that seeps into the culture, Indonesian, etc. So I was fascinated by the hospitality of the people and how well they receive foreigners also. Language was a huge issue for me because having traveled in other parts, I was amazed that almost everywhere I go in Malaysia, being a primary English speaker, I speak a little bit of Chinese because I lived in China for a few years in my
Mm.
corporate life, but I did find it really welcoming in Malaysia. I'm able to communicate whether I'm driving into Sekinjan, Kuala Sepetang, Muar, or any area that I go, I can communicate with the people. So the people are what stands out to me because they've been welcoming to me as a foreigner. I've been welcomed everywhere I go in Malaysia.
Thank you. I don't really appreciate that until foreigners tell me, or until I live overseas for a long time as well. And I realized that this is not the normal when you go outside of Malaysia, because we have Indians neighbor, I have Muslim friends, I go to church with, some of my Christian friends during Easter,
Yes,
Christmas, and I have Thai teachers who teach me in school, but they are Thais. So
sure.
for us, it's just another day. We don't think about it. And then when we
Yes,
go out to the world, we realize that, wow, that they don't come to us and they're not really used to it. And the other thing is, we speak many languages. Every one of us
yes,
is almost a polyglot, at least three,
yes.
at least three. So we don't find it that extraordinary. That's why you
Right.
see a lot of airlines those days in the 90s and the early 2000s. A lot of airlines, Qatar Airways, China Airlines, Singapore Airlines, their number one interview spot would be Kuala Lumpur or Penang, because
Mhm.
they know we can speak so many languages and talk to so many
Absolutely.
people. Now I actually have a secret wish. If I have a superpower, I really want to speak every languages in the world. How wonderful is, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a fascinating point because I was fascinated when I met my wife's father and her whole family. They'll speak in their Fujian dialect, their Hakka dialect, their Cantonese, Mandarin, Bahasa, English, and depending on who they're speaking to, they'll have to engage somehow their brain. They're such multilinguistic people that her father may speak to them in Fujian or in Hakka. Her mother may speak in Cantonese, and the siblings will speak Mandarin. And as they run their shop, they'll have to speak Bahasa and English to customers. So it's incredibly fascinating, the linguistic issue there in Malaysia as well. So it's a melting pot.
It's
It
it is a
really
melting
is.
pot, and the reason why all of us are here, it's because you just look at the location of Malaysia. We are right in the middle between two ancient superpower trading
Yes.
power. And those days, India and China's GDP or world trade is at
Mm.
what, like 70%, 80% of all world trade happens between these two countries. And we sit
Yes.
right in the middle. So people would come here, and those days, sailing boats, they have to run by the power of the wind. So they have to stop here during the monsoon and wait for the wind to
Yes.
carry them back to the other direction. So some people actually stayed and
Yes.
then made
Yes.
and then all made this new. I mean, I'm Chinese, but I'm not exactly related so much on
Mhm.
back to China, and so are
Yes.
our Indian friends here. So we made a new
Mhm.
culture, we made a new pact, and we made a new culture to ourselves. And that I only appreciate when foreigners tell us that, because for us
Yes.
this is very normal. This is very normal to go to all the festival. And the best thing
Yeah.
is, we have so many public holidays every
That's
month.
true. Absolutely.
Last long weekend was a Muslim public holiday. And
Yes.
then
The second
this
Raya.
yeah, and this Monday is another public holiday, but only for Penang.
Yeah.
Monday
Yeah.
is Heritage Day in Penang, and then each state would have a sultan's birthday.
Sure.
And
Sure.
then KL has KL Day, and
Yeah.
then numerous religious holiday, like endless, especially like November to February. Like kids
Yeah.
doesn't really need to care about homework. Like it's
Yeah, but
crazy.
and it's really true because I was going to eventually make Malaysia my retirement home. I studied the history of the peninsula and that region, and it's fascinating to me. From the 16th century, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the British have viewed Malaya as a strategic landmass. And so as you look at Malacca, and when I explore some of the outer, the coastal communities, I see some of the influences of other cultures. But it's just incredibly fascinating to me. And the holidays are, as you say, are interesting. Malaysia has some of the most public holidays of any country in the world. I think it's like 30
Yeah,
national
more than that, more
holidays.
than that.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
I always tell people, why are the British here? Why are the Spanish here? Why are the Dutch here? Because whoever controls the Straits of Malacca will control
Yes.
the pulse of Asia. It is
Absolutely.
the most important trading route up until 12th century from there on,
Yes.
because it's a choking point. Like it's
Yes.
so narrow. And if someone closes that strait, for instance, today, if you close that strait, China would die
Yes.
in 2 months
That's
because
right.
there's no more oil running through. And
Yes.
that's why I feel like, okay, we have some power here. It's like
Yeah.
we have like some negotiation here. So
Yeah.
it's important who controls the Straits of Malacca. And nowadays, it's of course a lot of the Western powers. Like here in Penang, we have the Air Force base, the Australian
Yes.
British Air Force base here, and the American bases are in Singapore. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of tension these days because China is
Sure.
very, very worried
Yes.
if if he doesn't get his way and things will get cut off. So China is trying to find a lot of ways to bypass the Straits of Malacca, and
Sure.
good luck to them. So they but let's not talk about China, let's talk about you. And so how many times have
Sure.
you traveled now back to Malaysia? Like how
Oh
frequent?
my goodness. Well, we typically spend anywhere from 4 to 6 months every year in Malaysia. So we spend a
Hmm.
lot of time. Now that I'm retired, a couple of years ago, I retired. We built a home just outside of KL in a suburb of KL in Shah Alam. And
Inshallah.
we had it sitting there dormant. We only renovated it maybe 4 years ago. And so we have a place to stay when we come. And so we typically try to escape the winters of the United States. So often our schedule is November to April outside of the United States. And we use Malaysia as a base. Of course, we love our time there, but we also go to other parts of Asia and we use our home in the United States as a base when we travel to Latin America and Europe. Traveling is an incredible, important part of my life as I'm enjoying life right now.
I love people who love travels. All my
Yeah,
guests are very widely traveled people. And I just mentioned in
yeah,
the last podcast, don't tell me how much you have, tell me how much you've traveled, how much you've seen,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you've seen
I've been to
you
about 50 countries so far, and I've
wow.
got a target list of about 30 more that I want to.
Gosh, so how much have you seen Malaysia in the past years?
Well, I have been to so many places. And when we're in Malaysia, my wife and I, every week, we will plan at least one outing outside of KL. So we may take and do a 3-day road trip to Ipoh or go to Johor or go to, Bentong or Sekinjan, Kuala Selangor, Sepatang, anywhere. We're constantly exploring. And my favorite places are the
Mm,
rural areas. I
mm.
love going into the kampong and just experiencing the culture, meeting the people, and especially enjoying the food. The food in Malaysia is a close second to the people in terms of what I love about Malaysia. Malaysia is, I mean, it is Mecca. It is absolutely a foodie paradise. Anyone in the world who
Isn't it?
knows Malaysia.
Isn't it? Well, I want to talk about the small town first because my channel is all about small town Malaysia. And
Yes,
don't you think that it has such a fascinating? Some of these small towns are actually one of the richest places, in Southeast
it's
Asia. Ipoh, Taiping was so
yeah,
fabulously rich, at that
yes,
point when tin mining and things like going on. And then we have
sure,
the communist era, which is quite tense as well. Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about those small
Yeah.
town that you go and what you
Well, what
observed.
what I like about the small towns of Malaysia is if you look at small towns in the United States, they're all about the same. You drive
That's
into a
true.
small town in the United States and they've got a couple of fast food joints, they've got a cafe, but they are basically, if you put a blindfold and took it off, you wouldn't know they all look the same and they feel the same. But in Malaysia, even the small towns have unique character. They have unique recipes. They have unique dishes. They have a completely unique feel. Whether you're going to Bentong and enjoying the tofu puffs and the ginger and the young tofu, or you're going to or the durian in Bentong, or you go to the towns like Sekinjan and enjoy the seafood there and enjoy what's unique there, which is the I love the guava. I love the fruits of Sakinjan. And so every town has its own unique character. Ipoh, for example, you go there for the chicken and rice and the iced coffee and all the foods that make Ipoh unique and special. And that's what I love about each of those small towns.
Well, thanks for making me very, very hungry in
Yeah,
this. It's
same
almost the
here.
middle of the night here.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
I'm
want to
stuck
talk
in the
more
United
about
States.
food.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, I want to. Well, let's. I want to talk about how. I want to tell everyone how I met you. Now, I run a Facebook post, a Facebook Malaysia Facebook group, and I started this group because I have many materials to share that I've traveled during the COVID days. I've traveled all over Malaysia, and I don't even know my own country until that happens. So I had lot of material to share. I started this group. It grew, and basically to help foreigners plan their trip to Malaysia, or maybe I sometimes give advice, or they look for resources they need to. There's a lot of locals who are helping foreigners plan, and they pose questions. And alongside came Brent. And you've been posting a lot, I see, on your travels. And I'm very happy and
Yeah.
very happy to see those photos that you posted, and you added a lot of content to the group. So thank you so much.
Sure.
Now, I wanted to talk about what has made you so famous recently, and that
Infamous.
is also infamous. Like, I'm very surprised. So what Brent did was he posted a picture of himself hugging a structure of a huge durian, and of course it's durian season now. So because the viewers that are listening, they can't see or read this, but I'll read this. The post that Brent posted a few days ago, and he said he was hugging this huge durian, and he said, "Here goes. I'm going to say something quite controversial. If it offends you, I apologize in advance." Okay, I'm not sorry. Anything you can find in Singapore, food wise, you can find in Malaysia for a third of the price and tastes better. And Singapore national fruit is the durian. I'm sure they love durian, but they don't grow there. Malaysia originated it, and the durian from Malaysia is better than any durian grown anywhere in the world. Sorry, Thailand. There, I said it. The feeling that feels like a weight has been lifted. I've been waiting to say this for years. So you posted that, and that garden 1,000 now in the group post. It garden 1,400 comments. It's been shared over 770 times. You can't see this, but I can see because I'm the administrator. The impression being looked at is 300,000 Brent, and it has gotten 16,000 likes or happy, or like all those emoji love people gave you. So, Brent, I wanted to tell you I spent the entire 2.5 days until today, 2.5 days, filtering those comments. And I can tell you guys, there's a lot of hateful comments. Like, I'm shocked. Like, first of all, I don't see anything wrong with the post. But I tell you, I will tell you a little bit later on some of the comments. So I wanted to go back why you posted that. And also I have some question. So first of all, what was the story behind that you post this? Which is
Well, it
there's nothing
was,
wrong with it.
yeah, well, regardless whether it's taken as whether you support it, like it, hate it, love it, whatever it might be, it was just simply initially I thought of it almost in jest. But there was a truth to what I was feeling, and that is I have friends in Singapore, many friends in Singapore. In fact, during my corporate life, I lived in Shanghai. I had offices in Beijing, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taipei, and Tokyo and Seoul. And so I've spent enough time in Singapore to understand or to know Singapore. I know historically Singapore and Malaysia have a wonderful relationship. They have a long-standing symbiotic, history as being all part of Malaya. And until the mid 20th century, it was all one happy country. And it's still they're wonderful neighbors. But Singapore often, has a feeling that that their food is wonderful. I just have my own preference. I prefer Malaysian food. I prefer the dynamic of the multiculturalism of what I see in Malaysia. And of course, durian is ubiquitous. It's iconic. You can't think of Malaysia without thinking of the durian. There are some personalities in on TV that have made durian, even in the West, famous or infamous, it might be. I remember when Bizarre Foods, Andrew Zimmern, he did his Bizarre Food show on durian.
Yes,
Yes, I'll
I know.
never forget.
I remember he refused. He ate every
Exactly.
effing thing in the world
Yeah.
except durian. I
Yeah.
said,
That was the
"Hello,
one
that's
thing
the
he could not
easiest thing
eat.
to. That's the easiest
Yeah.
thing to eat." I'm like,
But
he ate like live ducks. He ate and
yeah.
live
Yeah.
stuff. That's even
Yeah, he
worse.
would
This
eat
is a
a balut egg, which is a germinated chicken egg, and I've seen him eat some pretty
an
bizarre things.
octopus. This is a
Yeah,
fruit.
yeah, exactly. But 25 years of being in Malaysia, the first 10 years that I spent time every year in Malaysia, I couldn't eat it. My wife's family, they would be
Mm.
opening durian, and the smell was just reprehensible to me. So I can
A lot of
understand
things
as
smells
a
worse, actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, now I know. Actually, now if I smell durian, it just draws me. I mean, it's like one of the best
Ooh,
things I can smell. So
you've been
I've come
converted.
full circle.
Oh,
I've been converted.
I wanted to, these comments has been deleted, but I wanted to let you know what the comments are, and you might want to
Yeah.
respond to them. I don't know. Some of the nasty comment that I've deleted, things like, there's both from the Malaysian side and from the Singaporean side. So the Malaysian side, some of the nastiest was they grow durian there, and or something like their national fruit is durian. That's stealing from Malaysia. Some people say, I don't think they can grow anything there, or well, laughing about their sizes. And some go over and say they are part of Malaysia. One day they will come back to Malaysia because there's nowhere else to grow, or very, very nasty stuff from the Malaysian side. And from the
Yeah.
Singaporean side, they say things like our currency is super powerful. We can eat everything we want in Malaysia. Or they say all the best durians come to Singapore anyway because we have the buying power. 500,000 Malaysians come to work in Singapore because we are that good, or we don't care if we can't grow durian, things like that. Any response, Mr. Brent? I'm
Well,
having a
if we can
headache.
have, I think we should sign a durian détente, a treaty between our two nations. No,
Mm.
I think in jest, it's true that Singapore has and is an economic power, and Malaysia is as well. And so there's really no reason my post was not intended to elicit any kind of negativity. I just felt like I was stating facts. And for the record, as an outsider, that was my perspective, was that anything I have eaten in Singapore, I can find it in Malaysia. I have Singaporean friends that once told me that, "Oh, the bak kut teh in Singapore is so much better." So I'm thinking, have
Disagree.
you ever had have you ever had bak kut teh in Klang? I mean, Klang is the birthplace of bak kut teh. Maybe this will be the next controversy. I mean, anything I have enjoyed in Singapore that I've been able to find. Now, they have wonderful chicken and rice. They have other dishes that are nice, but everything I can find there, I can find it in Malaysia. And I think there's just
Well, I don't.
a little more.
I don't want to. I don't want to comment further down the road because I don't want to be the subject. You are. I don't want to take thunder from you. You are the subject here.
Oh no,
Did you
no, no,
know?
no.
Did you know you were on all the newspaper?
I did not.
You
Someone sent me a clip from Sinshu and
yes.
maybe one other place, but that's all that I heard. I
You
did
are
not
on a
mean for it
lot.
to be.
Go and look, Brent. You're on all the
Yeah,
major newspaper and all the outlet. And
yeah.
and I was like, huh? Like, don't you guys have more important things to report about? Like, but
Exactly.
it seems to invoke a strong feeling. And you're on the Singapore media as well. Go and check. I saw something. I saw people
No,
making shorts as well. Thank God you're not in Malaysia. People.
yeah. I think I'll be back in Malaysia in the fall of this year. I don't know
Uh-huh.
whether or not I should probably not transit through Singapore, but I do look forward to getting back to Malaysia. But I think I think it's a tempest in a teapot. I think Singapore is a wonderful country. Malaysia is a wonderful country. The durian does elicit a visceral reaction because it is a there's a certain national pride of durian, and I think that it's growing, and I think it's great that other countries and foreigners can also see it and appreciate it, and it can really appreciate all things Malaysian as well.
Well, because it's durian season and people are like,
Yeah.
they are like zombies now and like eating durian every day. People feel very strongly about it. But congratulations on being viral. I'm sure you added
Thanks.
thousands of followers, mostly
Yes.
Malaysian, I would say. Did
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
tell you how big of a thing this is? Did anybody, your family
Yeah, a
member, did they?
few. Yeah, some of my family members in Malaysia have sent me text and said, "Have you checked out this on, X, Y, and Z, these other places?" I haven't really done it.
Mm.
I'm busy planning a big trip to Europe. I'm transitioning into retirement. I keep saying that, but as an art dealer, it's kind of a hard thing to do because I enjoy what I did for so many years. But I will be focusing more on my upcoming trip to Malaysia as well, and we'll see how it goes when I
Mm.
get back to Malaysia.
On that note, being an art dealer, you've been to Malaysia. What do you think there's any potential? I mean, it's sad that we have artists, and I don't know the art scene that well, but I've been to the major ones that they have every September on the Southeast Asia. All the Southeast Asia artists would
Mhm.
gathered in KL for this huge art scene, but that's mostly fine
Yes,
art. But what have
yes.
you seen so far in Malaysia that you think, hey, this could, this could
Yeah, you know, I really the art scene in Malaysia, what I mostly deal in are antiquities. So I deal a lot in
Mm,
antiquities, Chinese antiquities,
I see.
um, and some in Southeast Asia. But the art scene in Malaysia is great. We do collect some of the batik paintings that we see in Malaysia as well as in Singapore as well, but those are quite nice.
Okay. Okay. So moving on, what is your next plan to come back to Malaysia? And what's your plan on that? Your next future
Yes,
plans to Malaysia?
I will be back in November. We'll be staying for about 4 months, and we're planning on going to the coastal area, Terengganu, and some of the areas that I have not visited before.
So the East Coast, you're going.
Probably, well, we come back to Malaysia in November, but we'll
Mm,
probably wait until about, I know there's some weather issues that we have to take into
it
consideration.
is.
So, yeah, we'll have to make sure and organize that. But our time is free because being retired, we can go whenever we want.
Yeah, well, luckily the East Coast, they escape big flooding. It's a beautiful part of the countries that is seldom explored.
And we've also enjoyed Sabah, Sarawak, Kuching. We've been
Mm.
all over there as well, and we love that area.
Well, I'm glad. And any tips you want, you're just a few message away from me. I'm happy to give
Absolutely.
you happy to give you any tips. This show really wants to help people, to motivate people who wants to give up, and people who are stressed out. What do you think is the best advice you can share with my listener and viewers, Brent?
Well, my philosophy in life to keep happy for me, and I'm 63 years old, and so I stay very active, and that is
Stay
see the
active.
world, stay active. I'm an early riser. I love to see the world. Lee and I have been to about 50 countries, and every year we just try to go as many places and see as many new things and keep an open mind. And so Malaysia has our heart as well.
That's nice to hear. I think
Yes.
stay active is very important. I
Yes.
know people who, some of them, they married rich or somehow hit the jackpot, or they
Yeah.
inherited a lot of money, and then they just do stuff that's not very interesting, that doesn't keep them very active, and
Yes.
within a few years they look terrible. That's how I feel anyway. Last question, Brett, before I let you go. When you look back now, what makes you feel proud?
Well, I think, I'm proud of the friendships that I've been able to maintain
Mm,
my entire life.
Mm.
And I have people that I care about deeply in other countries. So I think I'm most proud of the relationships that I have. Of course, I'm very proud of my son. I'm very proud of my family. And so I'm happy for the relationships that I have and that I've been able to maintain all of these years.
Yeah, no one is an island. Relationship is very,
Yes.
very important. I have
Yes.
people who don't have any more relationship with their family. That's really, really sad.
Yes.
I feel like in time you can forgive people and you can
Hmm.
start afresh. I always believe in a second chance. No matter how
Yes.
bad a relationship is, give it a bit of a time and things can restart when you're most unexpected. So I
Yes.
think living in hate, living alone, it's not going to be a fulfilled life. It's not going to be a
And
rich
life
life.
is short. Life is
Oh
short.
yes. Yes,
I
you
mean,
said it.
as I get older, I find the years just fly by. And so never miss that opportunity to rekindle that relationship. And
Ah.
I think that's very, very important.
Thank you for coming to this podcast. I really hope to meet
Absolutely.
you in real
Same
person
here.
to eat
Yes,
durian. When you are ever
absolutely.
in Penang, you have to text me. But
Yes.
you're a very, very active member in our Facebook group, Travel Malaysia Tips. And I
And
will
I'll
leave a
keep doing
link
it.
below. And you can also follow Brent on Facebook. He has an open
Yes.
Facebook that you can follow his adventure. He'll be in the States. And then you're going to Europe soon, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
you'll be back to Malaysia around, I would say, November?
Yeah, November. We'll be in Prague, Czech, Hungary, and Vienna. And then in November, we'll be back in Malaysia.
That's fabulous. I feel like your life has just begun, Brent.
It
Like,
has. Thank you.
finally. Yes, yes. And thank you for coming to this podcast once again. And thank you for
My
listening and
pleasure.
watching. Thank you for listening and watching with me and Brent. We hope you learned something from our chat. And follow my YouTube channel, Secology, and also sign up for the podcast newsletter, which will be coming. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you. See ya.